All right, we are now kind of live-ish. Welcome to Beer Protocol.
What does that mean?
It means we're alive, but they're watching it recorded, so therefore we're not alive. It says previously recorded.
Is that actually flashing on the screen somewhere?
It, no, because it's like editing. No, screw that nonsense. All right, so welcome to Beer Protocol. I did not change the original face thing that we have, where it has like a picture of it from a comic of Hawkeye. So, boo! Hey, it's Hawkeye. Hi, Jake.
Spoiler warning, we're going to talk about Hawkeye this episode. So thank you everyone for tuning in. This is Beer Protocol. We're going to be talking about, still working our way through some of the releases that have come out during quarantine. And today we're going to talk about Hawkeye.
Ooh.
You know, that one, the Avenger.
We should also say, welcome. If you have not subscribed, you should subscribe. But we have now officially hit 100 subscribers. All right, just wanted to toot around the horn.
James, let's tell our subscribers about what our show is really about as I hold up, there it is. As I bring it close enough to my face so it appears.
It's about alcohol and gaming.
I am drinking a V for Victory IPA, the no-brainer IPA.
I am drinking... Ooh, it is really good cold. Okay. I am drinking Wild Hair Cider's Willow. Because I found out that gluten is bad for me, so therefore I have to start drinking ciders.
We've come full circle. When I first met you too many years ago, you all mocked me because I only would drink hard ciders. And you eventually corrupted me to the point where I appreciate most ales. I could go to the Renaissance Fair and throw an ale back with the best of them. Except like once or twice, because then I'll fall asleep.
I was about to say, I've seen you drink a lot. You kind of curl up in a corner and start snoring.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
My wild and crazy New Year's is falling asleep on the couch at like 12:05.
Don't worry, we're all like that. All right, so we're going to talk about Hawkeye. Oh, by the way, clinking.
Clink. Again, playing with my new background to make it look like I'm drinking and not just,
You need a better
painted on a
background.
wall.
You need a background that's like a Star Destroyer or something that's cool. Not the fact
I mean,
you're sitting in front of like some weathered shack in the middle of nowhere and nothing.
I wanted, it's summer. I wanted to give a summer aesthetic for what's going on. I also kind of wanted that painted on a wall look from Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds.
Yeah, you failed. All right.
Well,
So, Hawkeye. Really quick, he's Hawkeye, also known as Clinton Barton.
can I talk about something for Hawkeye real quick that is unrelated to this game?
Sure.
It is related to Hawkeye. So, folks who are familiar with Hawkeye from the MCU, from the movies, may be somewhat surprised at what his comic incarnation was like, which is the arrogant, stupid hipster wearing purple with frosted tips. It's
like
hilarious.
He's kind of like Johnny Cage in Mortal Kombat, except with a bow.
And no, I mean, he's pretty okay martial arts skills. Like, they kind of captured his bow gimmicks in the movie, but they very much rewrote the character to be less annoying. Like, it's an in-universe thing that people find Hawkeye annoying. Like, other Avengers find him annoying.
Until he became Ronin, and... Was it Ronin?
Yeah, no, it was Ronin.
It was
Then
Ronin.
the movie version was annoying.
Yeah. How did that happen? Like, Ronin's supposed to be like I give up this whole like facade of being an annoying bastard, and I'm gonna be
It's what happens when you try to summarize years of character development and emotional change in 15 minutes.
Thanos. What?
No. So, back to Hawkeye in the game, just for that background. I've always been really amused by like the weird kind of I'm cooler than you and everyone should know an attitude of comic Hawkeye, and they kind of captured that with the art a little bit. It's much Hawkeye has 4 health. Not a great start.
So he starts off at Widow level.
He has medium movement. He is size 2, and he is threat 3. I'm going to try to preamble less about it, but what I would expect from a 3 threat. Wow. What I would expect from a model that costs 3 threat is they're going to be a little more rounded than a 2 threat model, which is going to specialize in doing one thing, but they're still not going to have sort of the depth of capability of a 4 threat model. So already I'm expecting Hawkeye's got a gimmick, and he's going to do that gimmick and nothing else.
Yeah, he's a he's an interesting place to put in your list. Let's just say that.
His defenses are 4 physical, 2 energy, and 2 psychic.
How do you get
That's
4 physical?
I think I know why. It makes it hard to just casually kill him with thrown objects. It's specifically because physical is the dodge defense for when stuff gets thrown at you. So I think he is not meant to take a lot of concentrated fire, but he is going to be hard to remove by just throwing something at him. For example, you can get rid of other ranged attackers like Rocket by just chucking something at him.
I guess it makes sense because Black Widow has the you can't target me if you're at a certain range. He doesn't actually have that, so giving him a little bit of a higher defensive, it does stop him from being like, oh, here's an Ultron to the face. No, roll 4 dice.
I mean, Ultron's going to use an energy attack, which is against his 2.
No,
There's
like,
a lot
I'm talking throwing like a size 3 character.
Yeah. Yeah, so essentially throwing a size 3 character or like a car is likely not to take Hawkeye out in one go. Granted, punching him will.
Yeah. Oh, I can't throw something at you. I might as well just walk up and hit you.
He has Venom energy defenses with none of Venom survivability.
We'll talk about that. Okay, so
think about that. However, onto his attack. I say attack singular. He has 1, which I think he's the first character in the game to only have a single attack.
It's so special, though.
Arrow shot. Range 5, 5 dice for damage, cost 0. Okay, so we've already been dumping on Frosted Tips here. But, dude, paint him with Frosted Tip. Please.
I'm totally going to do that. Just like, Frost. I'm doing the comic version of it all the way.
Purple tips. It's going to be great.
Oh, yeah. Bright purple.
Just looking at the numbers, this is actually a really solid attack, especially for a 3-threat model. Range 5, 0 cost, 5 dice, that's solid. It means once he gets into position, he can do fairly consistent damage to most things in the game from the furthest distance away.
It's also kind of hard. If you're staying at the limit of 5, there's not a lot of things that go at range 5. There's most like range 3s. So you're pretty much safe other than from, like, say, Rocket.
Yeah. Or it could also mean that you could shoot and then move and get further away if they approach you.
Which you should. So basically this attack also is a basic strike kind of deal. You get power after you do damage.
Which is really nice on a range attack, because almost every other case requires you to get to melee. Then, before choosing a target, this character could choose whether this attack is physical or energy. That's really cool.
That's nice on a basic attack, yes.
If your only attack is this, then you get to choose physical or energy, which means you get to pick your opponent's worst defense, and that makes him a lot more flexible into a lot of targets. That's actually a weakness. Like, in this point slot, spoiler for later, I'm going to be comparing him to Winter Soldier a little bit.
Good call.
I think this gives him a big leg up on Winter Soldier, because Winter Soldier does not have any ranged energy attacks. I don't think he has any energy attacks, period.
But he does have that I get to shoot you if somebody else flips, so
we'll see. Then finally, he has a wild ability called Full Quiver. After this attack is resolved, the defending character gains one of the following special conditions: bleed, shock, slow, or poison. That's cool. Status conditions. As a reminder, bleed means they take 1 damage at the end of their activation. Shock means all of their attacks have 1 less die. Slow changes their movement to slow. And poison, I forgot, but I have the PDF. They lose 1 power during the power phase, so essentially negates their energy gain.
That makes Hawkeye kind of a really good. Just giving him this, if he could also pass out, like, say, like, stun, like, this would just be amazing. But
that's why he can't.
That's why he can't. So, but like giving somebody bleed, and they're at 1, like, okay, because it says after this attack resolved, which means you don't have to decide beforehand. Which means, oh darn, I got him down to 1 point. Oh, here's a bleed. You hit like an Asgardian, and you're like, oh, they're gonna get 2 power next round. Cool. No, here's a poison. This versatility makes him very, very good at being like the Swiss Army knife of passing out conditions.
Okay, let's talk about his superpowers. First one up, Hook Arrow. For 2, place him within 3 of his current position. It can only be used once per turn. That's cool.
That's very cool.
Any ability to sort of jimmy himself, because that also lends him to being able to just say, I'll just attack twice and use my superpower and the power I gained from attacking twice
By the
to
way,
just move.
this is a place, not a move. So it's just like, oh, um, man, that's a tall wall. I place myself on the other side of it.
Yep. Or that's a tall size 4 building or size 5 building. You know what I would like?
Other side
I
of
would
it.
like to be on top. I would like to be on top of that building, so I get the bonuses for being on top of a big piece of terrain, which is I can see you, and depending on circumstances, you can't see me
We should also talk about that
at some
because
point.
somebody did come with something in a Facebook group about how if you're sitting on top of a building and there's a piece like a terrain that's size 3 between you
Like,
and the person you're targeting, since everything's on a horizontal plane, you can't see that person, but they can see you. It's kind of annoying. Um,
you know what someone pointed out was a really nice benefit. I think for target purposes of targeting, I want to double check if someone. I want to double check on this. I think the buildings or a terrain size gets added to yours for
Yes.
throws if they're not on the same terrain as you.
Wait, what?
I don't know. I could be wrong. So it was
No,
something
because you
about
can only throw one item. You can't. It's not. You can't pick up somebody who's like now size 7 and throw them. You just pick up the
yeah.
building and throw them. But no, it's it when it comes to we'll talk about like the weirdities, like some rules that are really weird in a different one. I really want to go over that because everything's on a horizontal plane, but you're playing vertical, so it's just some things get weird.
Yeah.
But
Elevation has benefits in this game. It's just not super well communicated what they are.
yeah.
Because it's because of specific rules interactions which are not super well explained.
Now hook arrow is good. That's because like it does ignore it's a place. It you can put on top of a building, you can put behind a building, and it's 3, which kind of
It's
equates.
2.
It's 3 inch. Places characters
It's a
3.
3-inch move, cost 2. Sorry.
Yeah. So
It's
that's
roughly equivalent to a medium.
Yeah, roughly to a medium. So that's pretty dang good for 2 points.
And again, he
you
gets
can
energy for dealing damage, so he'll probably make enough energy to hook shot.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's like you can attack, hook shot, move, or attack, hook shot, attack. Um,
Even
that's-
better,
Yeah.
with his next superpower, trick shot. The next arrow shot this character makes ignores line of sight, and the defending character does not benefit from cover. And it costs 1.
This is why the terrain rules are important.
Not for Hawkeye.
I mean, so like Hawkeye can now be standing because when you're on top of a building, say like size 3, he's now a size 5 character. But if there is a size like a dump truck in the way of another character, he can't see him, but you can totally see the person standing on the building. They also ignore the building when shooting or making an attack. This becomes important because when you're on top of a building or on top of a piece of terrain, you ignore the terrain for line of sight. But they don't. So
You can tell by how we're not 100% certain on this that a lot of times we choose not to bother
yeah,
than
but
try to remember or figure it out.
this is a great thing for like you go hook shot, get to the top of a piece of terrain or behind a piece of terrain, and then you spend a point for trick arrow, and now you're shooting through the terrain you're behind, so they can't shoot you back, which is great for things like Venom. Venom you shot me. I get to go ahead and make an attack. Oh, I'm sorry, there's a piece of terrain in the way. You can't see me. Doing things like Rocket hiding anywhere because of Rocket size 2. This just makes it insane.
Yep, since you can ignore Rocket's automatic cover, assuming Groot's not nearby.
Yep. Anytime you can ignore cover is just awesome. It's also great for like I've had multiple games where like there's an objective on like top of a building or an objective that's like in like the archway of a building or something weird like that, and it's really hard to position to see the person without cover. 1 point, and you're probably gonna get that back on arrow shot. So
Yep, Hawkeye is super flexible. His last superpower, Fast Draw. When this character is targeted by an attack, if the attacker is not within 3, Hawkeye can use a superpower. This character immediately makes an arrow shot attack targeting the attacker. So this is a little more restrictive than it sounds, or at least to me, because not within 3, that's basically all melee attacks are within at least 3.
But this is good to do on, like, say, turn 2. When you have, if you have a point of energy to begin with, and you move him to, say, like, an objective, and he gets the next power, he can sit on the objective, and it's just like, cool, I just spend my 2, and if you're going to target me with, like, say, well, Rocket, Ultron's Blast, Iron Man, Spear Throws from Okoye, like, anyone that's got a pretty dang good ranged attack, this is perfect.
Yep. It's a little more situational because, again, a lot of people want to get close in the game and are just more effective, even if they have a ranged attack. So I think it's still really good. And it definitely means you want to keep Hawkeye at range 5 from everyone.
Let me ask you this.
Because if they're spending actions to close the gap to get around fast draw, then they're spending actions.
Well, let's ask you this question. When does that expire?
What do you mean, when does that expire?
So when this character is targeted by an attack, if the attacker is not within 3, blah, 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 blah. Oh, wait. Okay, so you're spending it on their attack. I thought you could spend it and just kind of bank it. That's the way I read it.
No. I was a little confused by that because you don't get to trigger. You don't choose when to trigger this. Your opponent dictates when this can happen.
Yeah, if the attacker is not within 3. Okay.
Yeah. So
I was like, say, man, you can. Oh, but
you could do it multiple times, especially if you make energy from the first attack. It's also it's important to note that because of the way Trick Shot works, I would be very curious to see if you could declare Trick Shot during someone else's turn. I don't think you can because of the basic rules for superpowers.
You can't, but you can. So Trick Shot. Oh, this is what I was going to say.
Although there's a decent chance if your opponent's attacking you, you also have line of sight to them, so you don't need Trick Shot per se.
So Trick Shot doesn't have an expiration.
It does say the next.
So you
does not say on this turn.
Yeah, you can activate it, and when you do fast draw, you can use Trick Shot. But
I don't know about that one because it wouldn't surprise me if there was some basic rule we forgot about that says effects expire at the end of your turn. So unless it's like a status condition or a token or something.
I may have read an FAQ or a response from the company that makes this game, which I can't remember right now.
Let me guess. Is it Atomic Mass Games?
That would be it. So they actually said no, it doesn't expire. So literally, you could activate this on turn 1 and just go running around the board for 3 turns, and then suddenly just go, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just use Arrow Shot. Oh, by the way, I have Trick Shot.
I mean, okay. I feel like So we've covered all of his abilities. When Hawkeye inevitably does get flipped, because good lord, he's squishy, he flips over to his other side. We're going to try to read the wounded sides a little more carefully since we goofed with Thanos.
we had a small reading problem. Important note, he takes off his sunglasses on his wounded side.
That's true. Likely because someone broke them.
Yeah.
His hair still looks fantastic, though.
Still frosted tips.
Gotta love the tips. As far as I can tell, it appears that the only change that happens is he gets 1 more health on the wounded side. So 5 health for 3 threat is actually decently, especially if your opponent has a physical-based team. Having 5 health and 4 physical dice is actually pretty okay. That'll last through a couple attacks.
God, I really wish they had done this where it's Hawkeye on one side and Ronan on the other. So basically, when he flips, he just goes full melee, and it's just like it's a completely different character.
No,
that would have been awesome.
No, Ronan's going to be a separate character entirely eventually.
I actually hope not.
Because don't forget, they have the whole identity system specifically for that, so they can do multiple versions of the same character.
Yeah, true. So let's talk about tricky stuff you can do with him, because with fast draw, this becomes insane.
I'm waiting to hear how it gets insane, because again, as a 3-point model, Hawkeye should not be warping the game.
Yeah, you should totally read fast draw. So when this character is targeted by an attack, if the attacker is not within 3, it may use a superpower. This character immediately makes an arrow shot targeting the attacking
Yeah.
character. Look at the flow here. Targeted, immediately makes an arrow attack, then they get to resolve their attack.
So yes, if you daze or knock them out with your attack, which is not impossible, he's got 5 dice for damage. Then cool. Granted, your opponent was likely desperate or kind of forgot if they gave that to you. So, fast draw is very good. I think it's actually a great part that helps Hawkeye really consistently have board presence because it forces your opponent to play around it, but your opponent can play around it. So, and especially since 3 is actually pretty broad, the difference between 3 and 5 range is a movement, even for a short movement. So they could just spend an action to close within the gap and not give you the shot.
Yeah, the problem I'm seeing is...
Which, granted, that means they spent an action and didn't attack twice that turn, which could benefit.
That is true.
They're still playing around your stuff.
I mean, also, doing things like... This is where, like, the slow comes in, or shock. You know he's going to be throwing, like, a small pool of dice. So remember, adding and removing dice is more important than re-rolling. So, shock, having him reduce...
Shock is good.
The amount of dice by 1. Like, if you could do fast draw and just pull a die from them, that's 1 less die you have to roll against. And especially if it's physical, you're rolling 4 dice and they're rolling 1 less, you've just gotten a pretty good boost to not taking damage.
And it's also worth remembering that shock does not fall off on its own.
No.
So that's just a debuff.
Yeah, and because...
It's good for you or anyone else on your team.
And the thing is also is if you have, like, they're going to move after they attack you, which if you're attacking Hawkeye, if you're not moving and then attacking, you're doing something wrong. You need to hit them with slow, especially if they have a follow-up move. So, yeah, if they have, like, if you know that they're going to, like, because I think slow actually affects all movement.
It changes it to short.
So, like, if they're
already short, like if Venom is the one who's advancing on you, then slow's not going to help you at all.
But what if, like, if it's the bounce? So, like, Corvus Glaive hits somebody and can go medium to...
Yep, that would change to slow.
It would change it to slow. Okay.
Because slow means you could only use the short movement tool for advancing.
So that's actually really good to stop things like, Corvus Glaive and the teleports and all that kind of fun stuff. Wow. I don't want to like Hawkeye. I really don't want
I like
to
this
like him.
model.
He's actually pretty good.
I think this really does. So I'm mentally comparing Hawkeye with Winter Soldier, whose Winter Soldier is kind of a similar gimmick. He's 3 points of threat. He has a range 5, cost 0 attack with a solid hit that inflicts bleed.
Yep.
And his gimmick is he can get extra attacks by spending energy when someone is dazed or knocked out. And he can attack during your opponent's turn, throwing out more bleed and more solid hitting, I think 4 dice on his gun. I kind of like Hawkeye a little bit more. Hawkeye has less tools overall than Winter Soldier and like less list building potential with the Infiltrator or the Special Agent ability. But Hawkeye is very optimized around his tool, which is his attack.
Yep.
Because Hawkeye has a placement. He doesn't have to use actions to move. Like first turn, he'll move medium to get to a decent position. And then he'll use his place effect by generating energy from his attacks from there to move. And so he's going to be able to consistently do 2 attacks a turn. Now,
either that or you're doing a move, a hook shot, or a hook arrow, and then you're doing an attack. Or you're doing an attack, hook arrow, and a move. But,
And in a pinch, Hawkeye could be a decent objective runner with his placement because he could always fire off an attack to give someone slow. Whoever's going to be chasing him with their long movement, give them slow. He grabs the objective and then hook shots out of there.
I actually saw the opposite. I saw him as an objective hunter. So, like, you pick up an herb and you're running away, and he can hit you with a slow arrow, he can then hook arrow and then shoot you again for bleed or poison or something like that. Where he's basically just hunting you. Because at range 5, you're pretty much hitting anything.
Yes, that is the longest stick.
So, God, I want to say that he's really, really good, but at the same time, he's not that good.
Well, again, there's definitely like a ceiling for what a threat 2 or a threat 3 model should, like. Again, Hawkeye should not be dropping enemy teams left and right. But I kind of think of him a little bit like Shuri too, another 3-point model. Shuri is also not dropping people left and right, but people are rightfully afraid of her because of her board control and her team support abilities. I think Hawkeye does really persistent damage. He's always going to do at least a couple points of damage with a 5-dice attack, unless you're like throwing your stuff at a tank. His range means he can kind of gimmick around a lot of things. He can attack relatively safely with his ability to ignore line of sight and cover, because he can always post up behind a building, and assuming he's getting 1 or 2 points of damage, he's probably making enough energy to use trick shot.
Yeah, I mean, if you could find a building that is
not throwable,
not throwable, like a size 5 building or something,
don't let Hawkeye have a size 4 building thrown at him.
You literally could just camp up behind it and just be like, cool, range 5. All right, cool. I spend my 1 power I gained today and trick shot.
Yep, I think where you kind of felt where that may not be the winning strategy is, do you necessarily need a persistent damage dealer with some status effects? Is that necessarily helpful? Because that's not going to necessarily advance an objective on its own.
Yeah.
And it's not a dedicated knockout piece. It's not going to do the high numbers of damage or chase people or be a massive threat. It's going to be an annoyance, and it's going to be messing with the table status in a way which could tip it in your favor.
That's
by reducing your opponent's movement speed, reducing their attack damage, doing a little bit of damage to them. He does a lot of small things.
Robbing them of energy. Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head. He's an annoyance piece. He's going to be able to shoot you. You're not going to be able to target him. When you do target him, he's going to be able to shoot you back. He is an annoyance character, and I'm actually thinking about dropping him into a Black Order list.
I mean, I would. Like, I think he brings, like, there's definitely a few characters you can bring for fairly decent range support if you just need to have a character who can hit things from far away, and I think Hawkeye is a pretty good character for that, because he seems consistent, which I like. I like that a lot.
The problem is that when he gets hit, he's going to fold.
Yes, so you need to protect him. So his pack came with 2 cards, 2 tactics cards. Mentioned real quick. Heavy firepower. During a character's activation, it may spend 2 to play it. The next attack made by this character this turn, targeting an enemy that is not within 3 of any of its allies, gets 2 extra dice.
Wait, it's not within 3 and any of his allies? So he has to be isolated?
Has to be isolated.
Okay.
So essentially, it's a card that'll let you add 2 dice to attack something isolated. With
Hawkeye
a range 5 attack?
Hawkeye
no,
only?
it's anyone can use it. It's okay.
Would that be beneficial to anyone else?
2 dice is nice. It's not huge. But where I see this as being actually kind of valuable is going after objective runners, because they do tend to be off on their own. I think if you have this in your back pocket, Hawkeye can basically think of it having a special arrow to kill an objective runner.
I still don't think I would take it.
Yeah. A 7 dice attack actually is kind of business.
Oh no, that would definitely flip somebody.
And finally, he has professionals, which is specific to him. Natasha Romanov and Clinton Barton may spend 2 each to play this card. Now, what I'll point out is it does give them by name, by their identity name, and not by the actual character name. So you could use this with either version of Black Widow.
Okay.
So, and if they ever do like a Ronin in the future, then this card should still be relevant, because it would still be named Clinton Barton. If Clinton Barton damages a character with an attack this round, and Natasha is within 2 of the damaged character, you can move 1 asset or civilian token from the damaged character to Natasha. She's now holding it. This card does not allow you to hold more tokens than the crisis specifies.
So she
So
can
that's actually
steal.
pretty cool.
She can steal objectives.
It's a decent amount of setup because she needs to be within 2, but Hawkeye is also the one triggering it with his range 5 attack. So
I don't think I'd take that one either.
yeah,
I think there's better ones. I think that's way too like. First off, now you're bringing Black Widow and Hawkeye, which that's still like what 5 points. How much is her new card?
The new Widow is 3 as well.
All right, so it's either 5 to 6 points. And now she has to be within 2. He has to be shooting the character. That is unless you have messed up severely,
and he has to deal damage.
And he has to deal damage. Unless you have messed up royally, that is going to be such a specific situation that it will never come up.
But you could use it to take a hammer away from someone. In the hammer scenario, I mean, is Black Widow the person you want holding the hammer? I don't know, but it also means your opponent's Thor isn't, or Hulk isn't.
If Hulk's holding a hammer, I'm just running.
That's not an option in this game of crises and protocols.
I like I said, I both of those. The first one I could kind of see, but there's so many other things. Like I would totally take like Field Medic to be able to flip him back over, or and like heal him up a little bit, especially if he took like 2 points.
I don't know if I spent healing cards on Hawkeye.
I mean, I might do the one that flips him back over with 1 point, but I do not see either of those cards coming into a rotation.
I think another similar comparison for Hawkeye is to Star-Lord. Star-Lord is more flexible because he can inflict any status ailment and not the small subset, which means he gets access to the really like big cash money status ailments, stagger and stun. But he does need consistent energy gain to do that because that's a costed attack, whereas Hawkeye can inflict not big cash money status ailments, but solid persistent status ailments, essentially for free as part of his attack.
God, now I'm thinking about how I can drop Hawkeye into a Guardians list.
I think he'd fit fairly well because, as we kind of talked about in some of our Guardians overviews, Guardians is really heavy as an affiliation on melee. So having like Rocket and Star-Lord are kind of their heavy ranged characters. Now, granted, you kind of still need to bring Star-Lord.
Yeah, you can.
If you want, unless you don't care about the affiliation bonus, which
it's free. It's free. Just take it.
I don't know. It's iffy. But Hawkeye, thankfully, we could probably wrap up a little quicker. It's a 3-point model. There's probably not a whole lot of super detailed analysis. Hawkeye is all about his attack. I think almost more than other models we talked about, Hawkeye can consistently do 2 attacks around.
Yeah.
Because he can use his place effect to stay within his optimal range. And I think you could definitely do enough to irritate your opponent, and as well as over time. Like, if your opponent isn't aggressing Hawkeye, Hawkeye could definitely finish off characters about to be dazed or knocked out. Like, 5 dice is a consistent damaging attack. Like, I don't want to make it sound like Hawkeye can't drop people. I think he can. I think if your opponent lets you get, like, 2 rounds of uninterrupted Hawkeye pressure, he'll probably drop a character.
So with five dice, a wild's on only one side. You're looking like a little over a 20. Oh God, no.
So they're D8s, and that's 5 over 8, so little over 50%.
50% chance.
Yeah, of getting at least 1 wild.
I would, because I always drop it lower than that. I would say you have like a 40% chance of getting a wild to actually give him passing out conditions, which is still pretty dang amazing.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget, he can be physical or energy.
Yes.
So he can poke holes if they have a weaker defense. Like, I actually could see Hawkeye being a solid pick to counter Venom.
Oh, like, yeah, absolutely.
He can't make Venom any slower, but he has a solid damaging attack against Venom's bad defense, and he can also drop Venom's damage with shock, which makes it harder for Venom to heal himself. He can also poison to strip him of energy.
Yeah, is the Extremist console the one that gives you energy?
It gives you a heal.
What's the
For
one that
one.
gives you energy from the original box set?
It does a damage to you, and it gives you one
Oh,
power. I think.
the gem, the fragment.
Yeah, the
This is
cosmic cube fragments.
this is really good because passing out poison to people that have the cosmic cube fragment is amazing because it's like, cool, I get a power. I lost that power. So like you take the damage, you don't get any benefit for it.
So, yep. Consider taking Hawkeye if you want kind of a Swiss Army knife, or if you just want a ranged piece. Like, I'm trying to think right now of like the dedicated ranged pieces. I think Rocket also had a 5 dice attack.
Yep. Iron Man, kind of.
I'm pretty sure Iron Man's repulsor was 4.
He's a 4.
So Hawkeye,
Oh,
I think
his
probably,
beam is a 5.
yeah.
Um,
I think
yeah.
Hawkeye probably is tied for the strongest damaging range 5 attack.
Cosmic Cubes, I believe, is a 4. Yeah, I think he's one of the only people that has a range 5.
And
Now,
he's
his
relatively
disadvantage.
cheap too.
Yeah, his disadvantage. He doesn't have a throw. He has no pushes. He is passing out status conditions, but he's got really no way of like knocking people around. That's the
Well,
only real disadvantage I see with him.
I don't know if it's a disadvantage so much as a list build choice.
I think anything that doesn't have some type of push or a pull or a throw is a little bit less on the scale. I think
I think
that's kind
that's
of a
just your
needed
play
thing.
style.
Well, I mean, I
I
like
think that's a play style more than it is a specific disadvantage. But I'll also point out throws are actually a little rare at 3 points and below.
true.
Very specifically, most throws in the game are around the 4 and up threshold. Although there are probably like 4 or 5 characters at 3 points and under which have throws, but they tend to be more limited. Like Doc Ock's throws only size 2 or less,
Yep.
which keeps him from throwing a lot of stuff. I think Valkyrie has a throw at 3 threat.
Yep. And then like a lot of other things that 3 threat have a after
Push.
a hit push.
Yeah, but actually, like throwing things is it's the exception rather than the norm at this point level.
Yeah. He's a harasser. Definitely camp him behind something, shoot around corners, and just make your opponents just angry at you. That's why I see him. I mean, he's definitely better than Iron Man.
We're gonna keep hitting that low hanging fruit. So maybe next time we might be able to talk about one of my favorite 3-point models who has a ton of throwing.
Spider-Man?
No, Spider-Man's 4 points, you nerd.
Oh.
Drax. Look forward to it.
God dang it. More Guardians of the Galaxies. All right. Well,
I don't know, dude. I don't know why you're mad. Like, to be fair, one of our fellow BeerThralls, Josh, is onto it. I'm looking forward to talk about Ronan and Drax. Like, both of them are baller.
Maybe we can actually get together at the house and actually bring Josh in because Josh is now getting into Marvel Crisis. So,
We're just gonna call him out on our YouTube show that 100 people watch.
What are you talking about? He'd be fine. He'd be fine. Just everyone tell Josh how horrible he is. So, thanks for watching. If you have not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. Yeah, we will be back next week. We actually might be talking to, if we can ever get our times to sync up, the person who runs Inspiring Monologue. We're going to try to talk to him about some BSing about how the game is going and some more non-competitive things about the game. If you have not checked out his blog, you can just, if you look on the BeerThralls page on Facebook, we have a link to it. It's actually one of the better ones. It's where I learned about how line of sight works, because he has a very, very good breakdown on how that works. So definitely check him out. And yeah, anything else?
If you guys think of some cool Hawkeye tech or other tips and tricks for these models that we've missed, please let us know.
Post it below.
And if you want to see us cover a particular model or talk about a particular list or theory craft, let us know. I'll try to look into it.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Thanks very much. Game off.
Game off.